was bold. He was opinionated. He was unafraid of controversy. And whether or not you agreed with every point he made, you couldn't deny one thing. Charlie Kirk was committed to the pursuit of truth. He stood for the idea that you don't silence disagreement. You talk, you debate, you engage, you ask hard questions. What makes this so heavy for me is that I agreed with much of what Charlie stood for and how he went about it. He put forward ideas espoused from his faith and how that faith integrated into the decisions we make daily and the policies we fight for nationally. And those ideas challenged, provoked, and inspired. He was bold, unafraid to confront difficult topics, and committed to the belief that ideas should be tested in the open. You see, that's why Jesus matters now more than ever, because Jesus is the truth, not just a teacher about truth, not a symbol of truth. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, in John 14:6. Not just, I have the truth, I am the truth. Now, what changes if we know God's truth? And what Charlie Kirk stood for was dangerous to a world without Jesus. Not because he had a gun or a platform, but because he had an idea. And ideas, when grounded in truth, become incredibly threatening to those who are building castles on sand. We've always seen people die for ideas, for convictions, for the right to speak, for the hope of persuading others. And when that becomes dangerous, when ideas get you killed, you know that you're living in a world that fears truth. But Christians don't fear truth. We run towards it because we believe that truth has a name, and that name is Jesus. How does Jesus actually step into the mess we see today, though? All of the division, violence, fear, and silence? You see, these aren't abstract issues. They're real. And Christ speaks into each of them in a way that's both disarming and hopeful. So why does Jesus matter in today's world? Because when everything else collapses, he remains. Because he doesn't just give us opinions. He gives us identity. He gives us courage. He gives us purpose. He gives us the freedom to seek, to ask, to wrestle without fear that doing so will cost us our souls. And that's why the enemy wants people like Charlie Kirk gone. That's why he wants people like you and me silenced. Because if he can make us afraid to speak and afraid to seek and afraid to stand in the public square and say, I believe this to be true, he wins. Truth has to get out into the open. The Catechism reminds us of the same thing. Our dignity comes from being made in the image of God. Bearing witness to truth isn't an optional add-on. It's the Christian life. And it also tells us that Christians are called to peace, justice, and reconciliation. In other words, real discipleship looks like living truth out loud.